We shall now talk about something called as pass by reference or call by reference. At times during programming, when we're using functions, we are required to see that the values of the actual parameters itself are modified. What it means is, if A and B are declared in main, if I do something in that function called swap, that change should be reflected in main also. In the sense, if I modify the value of A and B, it should be different in main also. Previously, the copies were passed, but now what we're doing is, in order to modify the original or actual parameters itself, we're using a something of a concept called as alias or a reference. Now, a lot of you have names, but in your house, your name can be shortened or used as an alias. For example, Rajendra, you could be calling him as Raju, Raj. Okay, these are examples of alias. So pass by reference uses an alias. So let me first explain what it does. Let's say I read 20 into A and 30 into B. A is at address 1000, B is at address 1004. So when I call this swap function now, I have variables x and y. X and y now as an alias actually refer to A and B. So if you play around and touch X, A is affected. If you play around or touch Y, B is affected, because you can think of this as Rajendra, this as Raju. Okay, and similarly this as Rajkumar, this as just Raj or Kumar. So both really mean the same. So this fellow is representing A, this fellow is representing B. So in pass by reference, what happens is, if you play around with X, it affects A. If you play around with Y, it affects B. Now just see how the prototype is declared. So here if you see, there's a new AND sign to the prototype. What this AND sign means is, whenever I pass the actual parameters A and B, this AND sign indicates that whatever I do in this swap function is going to affect the values of A and B. So let's see how we go about it. So right now what we're doing is, we're asking the user enter two numbers. Let's use our simple usual example that the user enters 20 and 30. A is 20, B is 30. Now before we call the function, if we try to print the value of A and B, it's going to print 20 and 30. Then what we're going to do is, we're going to say swap A comma B. So now here an interesting thing happens. When you say swap A comma B, if you see X is declared with the address and Y is declared with the address, what this means is, X is indirectly referring to A, Y is also indirectly referring to B. So now when I change X and Y, I'm also actually changing A and B. So initially this is 20, this is 30. But when I do this particular logic, this fellow becomes 30. At the same time, this fellow also becomes 30. This fellow becomes 20. This fellow also becomes 20. The change is not happening in X and Y. It is only happening in A and B, because X and Y are aliases, or think of it as nicknames for A and B. So if you make changes to X and Y, it affects A and B also. Now, when I come and after I calling the function, if I go ahead and print the value of A and B, since X and Y were aliases or referring to A and B, now it will print the value of A as 30 and B as 20, indicating the change has really taken place. So this is known as pass by reference. So what I explained here is already much in detail in terms of words. So here is, if you see here, when we pass arguments by reference, the formal arguments in the called function, the formal arguments are address of X and address of Y. These X and Y are aliases or representatives of A and B. So if you play with X and Y, you are as good as playing with A and B. So if you touch them here, they are affected in the main. So any problem here you do with them, it's going to reflect back here. So you can think of X and Y as containing the original data with just a different name. So if you look at this code example, by now things should have been clear what is pass by value and what is pass by reference. In pass by value, we did not have this address sign. So even in the prototype, we did not have this address sign. So whatever you did with X and Y only happened here. Nothing happened here. But now with this address sign, it is changed in both the places. This is what you mean by pass by reference.